The game has changed in 2025, and this will be the case moving forwards. Yeah, that hole right there, it just produced a pretty good target, and it got me thinking for a video. Well, here's my good target. I didn't just do that for the TikTok heads. That was deep. Clatter ring, and all this other light stuff. This was in the dry. Walking back to the car. Found Jesus. If you need Jesus in your life, try metal detecting. I think that's Jesus. Made him of iron. Yeah, there's a lot to say about this. Look at how light all of this stuff is. But the one thing I want to point out to you is this. It's the month of July. One coin in the wet. Oh, he must be a newbie. No, I'm not a newbie. There is a different dynamic to the beach this year, and we're going to discuss that in this video. There are some things that are normal. You've probably heard me say in other videos that the greatest opportunity maker in beach metal detecting is the wind. And if you look, right now, this is the deadest time of year, really going into August. So the water's been a bit cold up here, but this guy shedded already. She's in the process. It's going to get really hot really soon. If we go to average water temperature, we're getting to the time of year that is peak. And this is when people do the most swimming. So wait, what happens to the sand when the wind doesn't blow? I call it the big plop. I mean, you ever have one of these picture frames as a kid? And it just, if you leave it alone, it stays flat. That's why you get the light stuff, because the stuff that's heavier, it's going to be further down, and you have a layer of sand plopped on top of it. I mean, we've had better days this summer for sure, but as for yesterday, I got these three things. This silver, you could tell it patinas very easily. Get in focus. There we go. And this has not been exposed to salt water for a long time. Otherwise, it would have turned gray. This was really deep. The coin was kind of higher up the slope, and it was more shallow than the ring, which was in the wet. This was a brand new drop. This you could tell by the patina. You know, this is probably missed from last year. Jesus was very close to the surface and probably saying to me, you need to be in Meryl's life. All right, so that's what is the same. June, early July, I mean, that's the season of the big plop. You saw me using the 11-inch coil. I was kind of wishing that I took the 13-inch coil. And there's no structure to things yet. Like later on in the year, when there's more sand movement, you could predict where stuff is going to fall on the beach. But right now, you might luck out and get a fresh drop. I've been hunting around where people swim. You know, I'm not going to either side of the jetty right now because it's not going to move it there. These are just fresh drops that are going to be deep. Another plausible thing that you could choose to do when you go down to the wet and it is silent is to just go up into the dry. But there's another factor at play, and here is where this video really gets interesting. All right, Meryl, so what the heck is different this summer? Welcome to my swimming pool. If you have a swimming pool, or shoot, even if you want to do this on the beach, this is what I want you to do. This is probably a combination of last year and this year because coins have been very scarce for me this year. But the number one way that coins end up, at least in the wet section of the beach, is people put them in their pockets. And then what happens when you get in your swimming trunks? You get into the water and your pockets go inside out and all of the coins fall out. I mean, I'm like neither happy or unhappy when I find a quarter metal detecting. I've found tons over the years. There were some years I took data and got over $1,000. But what does a coin tell us on the beach or a cluster of coins? It tells us that someone else has not been there. It tells us that people have been swimming there. Or at least Diwali happened. All you have to do is look at my beach tutorial video with just hit 100,000 views, and it tells you how important coins are. Like, they have a certain flow characteristic, and they move with waves. And some would say that there's a jewelry line that goes below the coins that I would always search. Wherever I see a cluster of coins, then I look a little bit lower. I would look within that patch too, and I would certainly dig out the targets that were irregular. But with the death of the coin, it's hurting the inference, the system of inferencing that I've used in the past with finding treasures, metal detecting. And with apologies to Jesus, because I found him too, when I see light stuff like this coming up in the swim area, only light stuff, I would have moved on in the past. So am I alarmed that the sand has plopped, that I'm seeing like all of this light stuff on the surface? No, that's completely normal for New York at this time of year. You're going to see me use the HF coil later in the summer. This is the time of year where you really want to punch through the surface of the sand. So I'm thinking 13-inch coil when I go out tonight. What am I alarmed by? I think it hurts us that there's less coins being dropped at the beach, less coins going into people's pockets being dropped. Let's face it, everything is Apple Pay, credit card. Some beaches don't even accept cash. So it makes it harder, but it changes the way that we have to think. Coins are like wine to metal detectors. We don't get excited about brand new coins. We get excited about the older ones, and it takes time to make that happen. As for the changes that I'm making to my process this summer, I'm spending a little bit more time in the wet or the dry, that is. I have to give it more time because like I would eventually hit a coin and then I would start spiraling, look for something else, and usually hit something else. But I think we're in a different world like right now. Last summer it was just starting to slip. This summer it has slipped. I'm seeing a big difference. So if you're going to hunt the wet, and my whole hypothesis with that is, people's hands get shriveled, when they are in the water, and they get smaller as they shrivel. Rings drop off. I think you have a higher probability of getting stuff in the wet. I've always thought so, but now it's like an algebra equation, and they put like X and Y instead of just X. So it's gotten a little bit more complicated, and it takes a little bit more diligence. I also think it's going to make a lot of people, especially if they're new to the hobby, quit. And I'm scared about that because it's a great hobby. And, we could call it competition, but we also call it friendship. In closing, I just want to ask, compared to past years, have you seen less coins while you're metal detecting? Does that affect you? Anyway, thanks for watching. More videos coming out. I'm planning on going out tonight making a video. Thanks for watching, everybody.